Okay, here we go. All right. Welcome. If you're on YouTube, welcome. We're going to go ahead and get this show started here. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoy. I've got my coffee, and make sure you get over to thekelsgroup.com /podcast blog and check out the full podcast, the audio version. That is. Okay? Let's get this show going. All right. Hey, welcome everybody to episode 26 to the Drowning Warrior Weekly Spotlight. Hey, this is your host, Rick Kaufman with the Kels Group, aka the Drowning Warriors. And we're going to be talking about some things here. Actually, the first thing I want to discuss that I think is extremely important, and that is people that choose to leave the water safety drowning prevention space for their own personal reasons. One of the things is if you know anything about my story, and through the search, through what I realized when I went to the NDPA conference in April of this year, I realized there was a huge problem. And one of the problems that I saw and that I still continue to see this day is the willingness to share one another's content, okay? Not sharing content, not supporting the other individual in their mission. And so, I'm not saying everybody does that. I'll tell you, you can step back and do your own research and find the information you want to find here to substantiate what I'm saying. Those organizations that support other groups, other organizations, who network, who build partnerships with organizations, businesses, nonprofits, the community at large, are the ones that are doing the most good, okay? They're the ones that are, they run it like a business. And, I have a LinkedIn group. It's called The Business of Drowning Prevention. And we have a Facebook group titled The Business of Drowning Prevention because it is a business. And I received a message this morning that wished me luck, and I'm not going to mention any names because that person doesn't know that I'm talking about this topic here this morning, but they wished me luck and said, I hope that we get traction, that we can get our message out, and that they were just not going to service the water safety space anymore, but it's still very important to them. And they wish us luck. And I believe part of their decisioning is the way it's going is, or why they came to that decision is because the lack of communication between their organization and what they do with the other people that are currently doing what we do, the unwillingness to partner with other organizations to not only get their message, but utilizing them to get your message. And I believe that's where a huge problem is because people don't realize, okay, when I reach out to you, all right, and I ask you to be on our podcast, and I reach out to you, I want to promote you. I want to promote what it is that you do. It's kind of like scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, but at the same time, I have a lot of guests that come on my podcast. I have people that don't, even though they're on the podcast, they don't share the podcast. Okay. They don't share this, with, at least not that I can see. All right. And then I have the ones that do, and the ones that do get so much more traction with their message and so much more traction with what it is that they stand for. And we're going to talk a little bit about this. Is what is your why? Okay, why do you do what you do? And what's your purpose? And we here at the Kels Group, okay, we are drowning warriors, and I believe that there's a new warrior in the world, and it's you. Okay, I believe that you have a voice, okay, to be heard, and that you have life lessons that can make a difference in people's lives, because what we know does can and does save lives. Okay, and so I believe that is extremely important. Okay, but through my story formula that I developed, that I utilized to find my why. Okay, and and I'll tell you what, this has been a 25-year long journey. If you really want to know a little bit of nuts and bolts about the journey, I'm not going to go into detail here with you because, I lost my daughter in a drowning in 1993. Okay. And essentially, even though we did some good things in the beginning with a foundation in our local community, this was before the internet, and the numbers were about the same as far as the numbers of drowning. They're approximately the same as what they are today. And so those really haven't improved a whole lot, maybe by just a couple of hundred less drownings now than what there was. But again, from what they're saying, that potentially we could have more drownings this year. But if things trend down this last quarter of the year, then we're still going to probably come in about the same as what we have been over the last several years, or for that case, for the last 25 years. But what I want to get out to you here is or talk about is your why. Why do you do what you do? And one of the things when I went through, like I was saying here earlier, before I kind of got a little sidetracked there, is talking about in my situation with my story formula, really going deep, going a layer deeper. Okay, I went through life 25 years blaming that incident on June 15th, 1993 for everything that had happened in my life. I had reinvented myself multiple times, and I was searching for something. What was that? Well, one of the things was I was searching for the person that was lost. Okay, not so much my daughter. What I lost with my daughter is I've lost time. And in turn, that time turned into 1 day, 2 days, has turned into 25 years. But I also lost something else. And that was the person that I was. Okay? The person that knowing, in other words, knowing what I wanted out of life and knowing what I stood for. Okay? And making a stance. And I wanted to also talk, part of this, where I'm going with this, is knowing what you stand for and making a stance, and you believe in something so strongly that nobody can waver what it is that you stand for. And if you make that stand, okay, in our program that I have, it's called Rise Up Warrior, okay? And, like I said, there's a new warrior in the world today, and it's a new breed of warrior, and that warrior is you. And I want you to rise up, and I want you to claim your spot in the world. I want you to claim your spot, because I don't want to see another person leave the water safety drowning prevention space for whatever reason. Okay, whether or not you're not getting the content shares, or whether or not people are not wanting to partner with you, that your message is not resonating with that person. I believe if you do the right things, the people will be there. Okay, you have to become interesting. There's a lot of factors that go into this, and you got to utilize all the tools that are there for you. Okay, we just started today. This is something, speaking about tools, this is something I should have been doing a long time ago. I've got the camera on me right now, and we're shooting a video while we're recording this that's going to be on our YouTube channel. Okay, the YouTube channel at the Kels Group YouTube channel. So make sure you get over there and subscribe. So we're going to start putting content out there on YouTube. We're going to start sharing that on our Facebook page. We're going to start doing some things, and we've got some really crazy things that we want to do. Some fun things. We got some props, we got some other things. We're going to begin to have fun with this, okay? Because I believe that, water safety, drowning prevention is such an important topic and subject that every single person in the world and needs to hear what it is that I have to say. But not only that, but they need to hear what you have to say. And so when an opportunity comes knocking on your door and you don't stand up and rise up as a warrior and take your spot, then what is the message that you're sending? What's the message you're sending to that organization that is asking for your help, okay, or wanting to support what it is that you do, and then you do nothing? Okay, what message does that send about the importance of the message that you're trying to say? Okay, and we spotlight warriors here every week, or this week we didn't because this topic and this message was planned on our calendar. But the thing about it is we have a message, but what is that message? That message should be built on what I call your life lessons, okay? We all have life lessons that we learned. And here's the lesson, what I'm talking about, where I talk about in our program, Rise Up Warrior. But that is, again, going back to knowing what you stand for. And here's what I want to say about that. How many of us can tell stories or know of stories where somebody slipped through their cracks, okay? Going back and going into, putting on my coach's hat, okay? If I'm a coach and I coach a sport, okay? Actually, my sport was soccer. I've coached soccer from all the way from little kids all the way up to high school and college. I've played professional. I've done just about anything you can think when it comes to soccer. But here's the thing. When I coach soccer, I did not want a child to slip through the cracks. If they didn't, but at the same point, they have to be coachable. If I tell them that to go home and they need to kick the ball against the wall, 1,000 times during the week, in other words, 200 times a day, then I expect them to do that. And so the same thing applies here, that you need to be consistent every day. But don't look a gift horse in the mouth. You understand what you stand for, rise up, claim your spot, and stand up for that. Okay, the thing about it is what I learned through one of the important life lessons of the last 25 years is the person that I was 25 years before my daughter passed away. I knew what I wanted. I knew what I wanted out of my life. I knew what I wanted out of my business. I knew where I was going. After my daughter passed away, I had no clue. I mean, my marriage ended 8 years later. I wound up with custody of my children. I sold my business. I reinvented myself. I felt as a failure as a father, a failure as a husband, contemplated suicide. I mean, the list goes on. And then, one failed business attempt to another failed job to another this, never feeling fulfilled, never feeling satisfied, knowing that there was something else out there that I need to be doing. And the thing about it was I was trying to be all things to all people. And everybody here knows that that's just not true. I mean, as far as you can't be all things to all people is what I'm saying. You have to stand for something. Okay. And, and I don't want to make this about a political situation, but you know what? Regardless of what party that you are on, what party line, the point of it is you make a stance. You stand on something to believe. People get so wrapped up into the political scene and the political environment, and they stand up for something. And realistically, in the long term of things, how does that impact other people's lives? How does that impact your life? Okay. And I believe that it really doesn't change. I mean, regardless of who won and who's the president, I don't really believe it makes a difference a whole lot in my life because I am completely in control of what I do and how I respond and react to these situations. So what I learned is that I needed to stand up for something. And where I'm going, it sounds like I'm kind of rambling all over the place here a little bit, which I probably am, so I apologize for that. But where I'm going with this is letting people slip through the cracks, knowing what your why is. In other words, why do you do what you do? I really get upset when I see somebody slip through the cracks. There was a story shared, which I'm digging into here this week, and I want to learn from this. There's a great book. Okay, I can't reach it. The book's over there, so on YouTube, I'm sorry, but I will put a link to that book, and it's called Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. Okay, that is the book that I'm going to be giving away next month if you haven't subscribed to the podcast Because here's the thing in that book. You have a choice to go through life. You have a choice to go through and make judgment decisions, or you have a choice to put on your learner's cap and learn about the situation. Too many of us go through the situation and we look at people and we judge the situation that they're currently in. Just like if somebody leaves the water safety drowning prevention space. Yeah, I'm going to judge that as far as why. But the thing about it is I want to put on my learner. I want to understand why they left. I want to talk to them. I want to know exactly, and I want to learn from that. Because number one, I don't want to make the same mistakes, and then I find myself making the same decision and I leave. okay, or I burn out, or whatever the case is. The other thing is I don't want to see somebody else leave because they're not accomplishing their goals, okay, and we can help with that. All right. My program, Rise Up Warrior, speaks right to that. It walks you through step by step, one-on-one with me, and we get down to developing everything that you need in order to be successful, okay? To get your message out to the masses, get your message out to the humanity, because there are people that need to hear it, okay? Not so much my message, okay? Not so much my goal, because my goal will happen. Okay, my goal is to reduce drownings by 50% where they are today in 2018 to in the next decade by the year 2028. So if there's 4,000 drownings in the United States right now, we want to cut that by 50% by the year 2028 down to 2,000. And when you look at that as far as the bigger picture of things, what will that translate into the numbers of drownings worldwide? Okay, and which are over 370, some 380,000. I mean, that's a huge problem, and it's the leading cause of death, accidental death of children under the age of 5, and it's the second leading cause of children under the age of 15, according to the CDC website, and also according to, depending on who you're listening to and what you're reading, because those numbers are all over the place. Okay, but you can't dispute that. Okay, that is undisputed. The numbers and the numbers are much higher than what they really are. So those are every one of those numbers is somebody who slipped through the cracks. Okay, that is somebody that didn't act. They either had the information that they knew they needed to do, okay, or they should have done. Like they knew that they had to take swimming lessons, but they chose to put it off because of a family vacation, and then the child drowns on the family vacation, or they put it off because they just don't have the time because they're working overtime because they have the bills are mounting and they can't afford it. I mean, we have excuses. Okay, my children. I'm a father of 8. Okay, with one in heaven. So there's 7 of them walking on this earth today. Okay, I have 11 grandchildren, and if you're a parent and your child comes to you with excuses, right? All right. I mean, the saying, excuses are just like bleep. Okay, everyone has one. Well, in this case, my children had excuses. What kind of parent would I be? What kind of father would I be if I let my child tell me an excuse? Why they can't do their homework, why they can't clean their room, why they can't help set the table, why they can't, help with chores, help in the yard, whatever it is. Okay, the answer. When you ask your child, they learn this at a very, very young age. And we as parents, many times let them get away with those excuses. And then in turn, by the time they get older, it gets worse. Okay, so when I say every one of those drownings is somebody that has slipped through the cracks, I'm looking at this, I'm taking it personally. I take it personally because my daughter is one of those numbers, okay? And I remember that drive home saying that I did not want somebody to go through what I'm going through, okay? And so it took me 25 years to figure this out, okay? That little comment, I hear parents say that comment all the time. I mean, on their Facebook pages and on all this, but I don't want you to have to take 25 years to figure it out. Okay, I don't want you to start your foundation and find 3 years, 5 years, 10 years later you shut it down because of the lack of interest that you're getting. Okay, or that you feel that your message, nobody's listening to you. The point is, people are listening. They're just not commenting. They're just not sharing. Okay, everybody knows that when people don't agree with your message and they don't like you, they're going to tell 10 people. But everybody knows that when you do a good job and you're doing what's right, people don't tell anybody. And that's part of the problem here. That's one of the biggest things with the problem is that people don't share. They don't share that. So I'll tell you what. Let's take a second and have a sip of coffee, and we'll begin to wrap the show up. And if you're over on our YouTube channel, hey, I want to say thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to the Kels Group. What was I saying? Yeah, subscribe. There we go. It's amazing. Coffee kind of went to my brain and made me forget what the heck I was talking about. But make sure you subscribe. And I got a book right here. So if you're on YouTube, you see this book right here, The One Thing. Okay, we're giving this book away. This book changed the way I do things. It changed the way that I sit down, I plan my day, work my calendar, and I take control of my life and my calendar. And I am busier today than I ever have been. Okay, and I'm actually not working any harder than what I was before. It's just that I'm more focused on that one thing that I need to accomplish on that day, that time. And so I want you to get this book, okay? If you don't win, or you just don't want to wait to see if you win, or you don't want to subscribe, there's a link to this on my page at thekelsgroup.com, okay? There's a link to this. Make sure that you go ahead and click that link, and you can go ahead and subscribe. Or I'm sorry, not subscribe. Go ahead and pick this book up, okay? You're helping us. We are an affiliate, and we are an Amazon affiliate. So in turn, you're able to help us too. That helps us stay on the air. Also, there's on the website there on the website for our podcast, you'll see a donate button. If you feel like just donating 50 cents, hey, you know what? I'm not going to turn it down, because that allows us to do what it is that we do. So with that being said, let's get to your why. Okay, so why is it that you do what you do? All right, and I think you need to look at when people slip through the cracks. When you have a personal story of a situation, when somebody slips through the crack and they don't take your information, they don't engage with your content, they don't engage in a conversation with you, and you let that person go. Okay. I don't want to say that we're not doing the job. We can't get to, here's the thing. You can't get to everybody, okay? And you can't get everybody to see what it is that you see and know what it is that you know, because, just like I was one of those parents, I believed it wouldn't happen to me. And so how do you effectively get that message to where they will understand, at least, even if they believe that it won't happen to them, but take the information anyways and find a message that will resonate with them. Maybe you can share this with somebody that has a child that doesn't know what you know. Pay these people a compliment, okay? Instead of tearing them down and criticizing them. Remember, you go through life, okay? That book, Change Your Questions, Change Your Life. And you can change your questions and you can change their life, okay? So you can approach this possibly. This is just an idea, but you can approach this possibly by saying, I understand that you know what it is you need to know to keep your children safe. One of the things is I want to learn as much about that as I possibly can. And I want to learn what you know. But I also, this information, you can share this information. You can become an advocate and share this information with maybe a family member, a friend that has a child that may not know what you know. Okay. Then possibly they might take the information. All right. And then maybe they will look at it, and then they'll share it with somebody else. So you have the opportunity not just to affect one life, but you have the opportunity to possibly affect two lives. Okay, you can't you can lead a horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. Okay, but let me ask you a question: if you were in a buggy and you were